Are you looking for a Game Boy style emulator that has joysticks and an easy to use front end? Well, look no further. Today we're talking about the Anbernic RG353V, and it's got all the sticks. Before we dive into it, we are giving away an Anbernic RG35XX. It's a fantastic little emulator, and if you'd like to win it, subscribe down below and we'll pick it in the next video. On to Joystick Mania. So this is the Anbernic RG353V. It's a little bit larger than the other Anbernic Game Boy style handhelds in their lineup because it has these extra joysticks built in on the bottom of the device. So let's take a look at the physical overview of the device and decide if it's right for you. But before we get into the device overview, let me explain why these buttons are different between squishy and clicky. And these rubber pads form an electrical switch closure when the keypad is pressed and the semiconductive pill comes in physical contact with the actual printed circuit board. While a tactile switch, which is clicky, is a small switch that's usually placed on PCB and completes an electrical circuit when the button is pressed. So, if we roll through the device here, we have A, B, X, Y buttons, which are squishy, not clicky. The D-pad, which is also squishy, not clicky. The start and select buttons and the menu button that's in the center there, they're all squishy. We have two joysticks at the bottom that do have clicks, which are clicky. On the side, we have a volume rocker, which is clicky. On the back, we have 4 trigger buttons that are clicky and not squishy. The power and reset buttons on the side are also clicky. In addition to that, we have a fantastic looking screen, a USB-C in a speaker with speaker holes, a mini HDMI jack, 3.5mm headphone jack, and a USB-C. In addition to that, we have 2 different SD cards, one for the OS and one for all of your ROM library. It has a 3.5-inch IPS 640 by 480 screen and a 32 milliamp hour battery lasting around 6 hours. The device is made of mostly ABS plastic and feels plasticky, but feels and fits very well in your hands. This thing works very well for me. I'm 6'2" and have a little bit larger of a hand size, so having this extra space, even if I'm not using the joysticks, is kind of nice for me. When you get into the software here and we get into emulation, those sticks really come in handy. So let's dive into the software and go over that now. The software on this little device is pretty vast for what you have in your hand here. While it's running Android 11 and Linux, I recommend the Linux side of this device because the operating system is mainly set up for the Linux side of this device. So let's jump into those systems on Linux. The Game Boy Advance and below in the 16-bit era plays very well. And you can see here that the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color will do well on this screen because of the ratio of pixels we have here. We have a 640 by 480 screen, so that means Game Boy Advance will scale pretty well, along with the Game Boy Color and tons of other systems from that 16-bit era. In addition, when we move up the line a little bit and we get to the PS1 Classics along with the N64 Classics will play on this device as well. And now that we have those joysticks, we'll actually be able to move our characters around a little bit easier than just with the D-pad. Now, moving up to the Nintendo DS. The Nintendo DS runs pretty well on here, and the nice thing about this is we have those sticks. So mainly using the control pad, you're able to get most of what you need done. But having those 2 sticks means you don't have to map your buttons to anything else. You can use your sticks essentially as your stylus input, which is very nice, and that's how it comes configured out of the box with Drastic. Moving over to some PSP games, which this does play, but it's kind of weird because this screen ratio is not really great for PSP titles. Now, some games you really only need the center of the screen, which is fine. For a lot of the titles, you're either going to be stretched or look a little weird, and it's not really meant for this device. It's cool that this system can do Linux and Android, giving you a lot more options when it comes to emulators. There are a few other things that were included in this package, So LIT sent this over to me, and they also included the stand you see here, which comes with a magnetic charging cable, which is very cool, a grip in case you have even larger hands. So it does actually fit my hands pretty well, and for longer gaming sessions, I could see how these come in handy, in addition to a controller that they also sell. These are all different options that LIT sells, and I appreciate that they sent these over to me. If you'd like more information on any of these or the system itself, links are in the description down below. So this brings us to cost. This console with the Linux and Android options is around $150. That being said, they also have a $110 version, only has the Linux side of the system, which I think after reviewing this, I would actually stick with the Linux side of the system more often because of the screen size and ratio of the screen. I don't think you're going to be using tons of game streaming or even web browsing or anything like that on the Android side of things. I think you're mostly going to be using Linux to play handheld games like Nintendo DS games or Game Boy Advance games. That being said, if you're interested in Moonlight or any sort of streaming and you just want something small to put in your pocket, the Android side would be better for this, and I'd go for that $150 option, each of which are linked below. This does put this in the competition of the Miyu Mini Plus and other Game Boy style emulators in that category. But this is a fantastic little handheld if you have bigger hands or if you're looking for something a little bit larger but still pocketable in the Game Boy shape emulator space.
And I've done a little work myself.
I've been making 3D printed stands as well that are a little bit smaller, and I've been calling them hollow stands because I want to see the device and not the thing that it's sitting on. If you're interested in this, leave me a comment down below and I'll see if I'll make them available for everyone to download or purchase. So if you're interested in this, or maybe even interested in looking at any of the competition, we've got a bunch of different options right here for you. Maybe take a look at it. See if it's right for you. Maybe even decide you're a Game Boy. Am I a Game Boy? I might be. Take a look.